Hello everyone, this is lecture number 6 in crisis management, media and crisis management course. Date is 29 of March 2020. This lecture main topic is about crisis management team. We will discuss the definition of the crisis management team, what are the main roles and responsibilities for them, who should be represented in the crisis management team. Then we will discuss how can we select the crisis management team leader, what are the main personality features or characteristics of the crisis management team or members, how does the crisis management team function during the crisis, whether before or during or after the crisis. The first thing we are going to discuss is the crisis management team definition. The crisis management team is formed regularly to protect an organization against the negative effects of the crisis. So the crisis management team is the structure or the committee to decide on future course of an action or device strategies to help the organization to come out of difficult times as soon as possible. And the crisis management team is formed to respond immediately to the warning signals or signs of the crisis before the crisis happens. So the crisis management team is going to prepare for the organization to expect the threats and to try to contain the situation once the crisis happens. What are the main roles of the crisis management team? Number one, the crisis management team or members have to detect the early signs of the crisis. That means that we have several methods or several ways to protect or to detect and specify and explain the crisis using a combination of neural or non-neural techniques. These techniques will help the crisis management team to know the methods, to know the type, and to discover the category of the crisis which will be contained during the crisis management plan. Number two, identifying the crisis or the problem areas. This will lead us to discuss the main types and categories of the crisis, which have been discussed before, that we have three main categories of the crisis: inside the organization, outside the organization, or the organizational actions. Number three, sit with employees face to face and discuss on the identified areas of concern. This is related to using the importance of personal selling, the personal selling which will be, or the personal communication which will be implemented with the employees, with the internal members of the organization, which is called or named ERM, the Employee Relationship Management, during the crisis. Number four, prepare the crisis management plan, which works best during the emergency situation. Which related to put the scenarios of the plan A, plan B, plan C, and then we decide which plan will match the crisis and which will be fitting or matching the scenario of the crisis as expected or as the crisis management team decide to discover during the crisis time and according to the organizational resources or the organizational strategy or overall goals. Number five, encouraging the employees to face the problems with courage, determination, and smile, and motivate them not to lose hope and to deliver their level best. This point is related to unifying the messages, unifying the communication messages or the information related to the issue or related to the topic. All the information released or come out from the organization should be accurate, should be one information, should be specified based on the plan. Number six, help the organization come out of tough times and also prepare it for the future. That means working on minimizing the risk, minimizing the problems to help the organization to contain the situation and to continue working on the routine business as soon as possible. Number seven, establish what happened. That means specifically the reporting. Actually, this is one of the most important tasks for the team. to identify or to highlight the problems, identify the steps to be easy to know the progression. Number 8, assess the impact, whether inside or outside the organization. As we discussed before, that the impact of the crisis may be contained or may be extended to reach all the stakeholders or all the general public related to the organization. So we have to know the quality of the impact and the type of the impact that the crisis did, so we can control it. Number 9, resolve any conflicts of interests. So it's very important to solve without harming any of the stakeholders' interests. We have many stakeholders. We have internal and external audiences which have interests with the organization. When we put the crisis management plan or strategy, we should put in consideration all the concerns and the interests of all the stakeholders. Okay, number 10. Identify the actions required, and this will come by following up with the higher management or the decision makers or the board of directors, the people who will take decisions during the situation. And the last one, number 11, retain control. This will come by getting plan done and strategy, taking stands with the reasons or consequences of the situation. Then we will talk about who should be represented in the team. Here we will find some of the departments or some of the members that should be represented in the crisis management team, that should be represented in the structure of the crisis management committee. Let's read them together. First, they are the head of departments. All the departments of the organization should be represented during the crisis management decisions. The board of directors, those who are the people who are taking decisions during the crisis. Media advisors. The media advisors may be from inside the organization or they are consultants from outside the organization. People who had previous experiences in crisis management, had relationship building, good relationship building with media, who can expect how can we formulate the media press releases, or how can we shape our messages during the crisis. Then the human resources, the representatives, the facility management, the legal affairs. So if we have any decision or any action related to the laws or to the legal affairs, so we can take the decision according to their feedback or according to their information or background. The risk management team, information technology, financial services, the corporate security, public relations, marketing, communication, and media. In any department or any organization, we will have the Department of Public Relations or Marketing or Communication or Media. There are different names for these departments, but they all have the same function. The main function is to communicate with the internal and external publics in the normal times and in the crisis times. This slide will lead us to show should be early named. This team, these all departments should be early named or structured before any crisis detect. But after we know the crisis type, after we know the crisis category, we have to match it to its category. It will be very important to restructure or to reshape the team based on the members whom should be represented, whether because they are decision maker or they are a source of information. So we will have to reconsider the members of the crisis management team after the crisis. Then we will be able to specify or identify the people who are very important as a source of information related to the crisis or as a decision makers. And we might observe that the bold titles, the first two titles, and the number public relations, marketing, communication, and media, are the most valuable members to be represented in any crisis management team. Selecting the crisis management team leader. Who should be the crisis management team leader? The crisis management team leader is appointed to take charge of the situation immediately and encourage the employees, encourage the crisis management team members to work as a single unit. The first step is to understand the main areas of concern during the crisis. He has to be appointed to take charge of the situation and to encourage them to take the decisions which are the right decision to contain the situation on two levels, the management level and the communication messages. Successful leadership related to coordinating regular meetings, training, evaluating the threats of the crisis. So it will take too much time, it will take too much effort to decide who is or who should be responsible to take the leadership of the crisis management team. And he should take the responsibility or the task of coordinating regular meetings and training and to evaluate the risks or the threats of any crisis. And this will surely come after the first stage of the crisis detection and to know the category of the crisis. The leader establish basic principles of crisis management team. So we have 5 main tasks or 5 main responsibilities for the leader for the crisis management team. To create the written plan, and the previous lecture we talked about how can we write the plan, what are the main points or the main actions that should be considered in the communication plan or the crisis management plan. Number 2, to define the specific roles of each crisis management team member. So the leader, he will be responsible for putting the right people to take the right or to help the organization in specific tasks. Number 3, creating a communication plan. The communication plan will be implemented on the internal and external level. Internally will be with the employees, will be with the crisis management team, and externally it will take a stand or it will take a place with the media representatives. All the media channels or all media platforms that have to take information from the organization, it will have to come out from the crisis management team leader first. Number 4, establishing a training schedule for the crisis management team. This will be very important, and again, as we have discussed before, that we have a crisis management plan. This plan will be implemented according to a timetable. So the crisis management team leader should consider all the training schedule and to guarantee that this schedule is totally or 100% executed by the time plan. Number 5, creating a crisis management culture. It will be very important during or before even before the crisis to raise awareness about the concept of the crisis and to raise awareness about that we might face a problem and how can we deal with the problem even if the problem is natural disaster or the problem came from outside source, not from the internally from the organization. Then we will talk about the crisis team members, personality features or the characteristics. This slide will talk about the main features or the main personality characteristics that should be presented or that should be existed in the crisis management members. Number 1, they should be well informed. It's very important for any crisis management member, should be the source of information, should have the power to change, and should have the authority to take the right decision in the right time. Number 2, the experience, whether from previous crisis management in the organization or in different organizations working on the same sector or working in different sectors, or being involved in putting the pre-crisis plans or putting the scenarios for the expected or predicted plans. Number 3, to be polite or patient, and I think this is a personal and a communication skills. This should be in any public relations member or any public relations practitioner. Brave enough to face the reality. It will be so important to make them enabled to deal with the internal and external audiences and media, and it's going to be so hard during the crisis to deal with different audiences with different backgrounds and different information, whether they are victims or not. So they should be brave enough to face the situation. Then they should have a positive approach, the positivity, and to be able to transform the plan A to plan B smoothly, to be able to show that we are not totally black or hard times. No, we just have to highlight the positive sides of the situation. Number 6, he should be effective communicator. This is the most valuable feature, and this is why the public relations or marketing team should be represented as a main members in the crisis management team. To have the ability to communicate smoothly and effectively with the internal and external publics. Risk manager. This will lead us to the importance of taking decisions. They may cause short-time risks, but long-term solutions for the organization. Problem identifier, the ability to highlight the problems that may face the team during executing the plan. Mind stability. Accurate and reliable. The accuracy to be able to implement the plan steps accordingly with the timetable and the emergency situation. The next 2 features, which are mind stability and available and willing to work under stress, we can combine them together because they are the same meaning at the end of the story. To be able to work under pressure and to taking the right decisions through hard times. The last one is the trustworthy, to control the information that will come out of the team during the crisis that may affect the organizational reputation and image. Okay. Now we are going to talk about how does the crisis management team function, how can they work, and what are the main responsibilities or the main tasks that they have to do. They should understand the main areas or the main fields of concern. This is the first step for the crisis management team during the emergency situation. As we know that the crisis management team not only works on the various problems, but then they have to put shortcomings which led to the crisis of the workplace. The team members must understand where things went wrong and how the current processes can be improved and made better for smooth functioning of the organization. Then it will be too important to put the priorities and then to rearranging the important things and to rearranging the important issues that have to be discussed during or after the crisis happen. It's so important, and this will lead us to limit the effects of the employees as long as the external audiences for the organization. A single brain cannot take all the decisions alone. It shows us the importance of putting the tasks or distributing the tasks for all the crisis management team members. The team must handle critical situation well. This is one of the major roles of the crisis management team, is to stay in touch with external clients as well as media. This will help us to handle all the critical situation, to handle or to deal or to communicate or to send and receive messages between the internal and the external audiences during and after the crisis happen. Okay, the importance of double checking information before finalizing the plan. It's very important point, as we have to develop alternative plans and strategies for the tough times and to make sure that you have accurate information. And then we will talk again about the importance of the information, as we have discussed before, that the most valuable materialistic thing during the crisis is the information. So we'll have to double and triple check the accuracy of the information that come out of the organization, and that information will be the starting point for solving the situation and to contain the crisis. Implement the plans immediately for results, and the proper feedback must come from the client from time to time, and that will be according to the timetable that is already based on the crisis management strategy. Okay, now we have finished our lecture. I hope that all of you are okay and that you understand the lecture well. If you have any questions, please contact me as we agreed previously. Thank you so much.